So it's time to leave the waking world behind and enter the nightmare realm of Fatal Frame 3 yet again. So we find ourselves back in control of Ray, but not where we last left off. Instead, it seems like Ray has caught herself back up in that weird daydream she was having earlier on in the game. And all too quickly we find ourselves back in that garden area with a skewered tree. Much like the first time we entered the daydream, we find our two waiting handmaidens in each one of the adjoining hallways. They're so nice to bow at us, but we know behind their eyes and their bows are malicious intents. Still though, we did follow you through the door beforehand, and we have been making our way ever closer and closer through the door, so we should give it a try.
Must not be opened. That priestess, the shrine must be sealed.
And just like that, we finally find ourselves back where we last left off, right in the heat of battle. A very dangerous state to be in, but with a few good fatal frames, we do get a new musty image. Yeah, that particular fight with the faceless man can be extremely dangerous. He will catch you by surprise, and you do not have a lot of maneuverability room initially, but that image we got from him was not really a musty picture, but was instead the trigger to open the door. And it may not have been immediately obvious where that was, but that was the stained corridor earlier on in the manor, and that's not too far away. But while we do make our journey back there, while we are picking up a few recurring inventory items, such as the herbal medicine in the Type 14 film, hopefully you Avid Eye viewers out there might notice that we are now wearing one of the unlockable outfits for Ray. This is a black yukata, and it is obtained by beating the game on normal, which is relatively easy to do. But you may also notice that she is now wearing glasses. The glasses are one of many head adorning items that Ray can wear, along with Miku, and Kay can also wear head items as well. They can be a little bit more difficult to obtain. The glasses themselves require, I think, beating the game on hard twice, or hard and nightmare. But I will be showing off more of the unlockable outfits as we continue through the game. We are actually playing on our New Game Plus save, which also means that I won't have to be cutting in any more of the New Game Plus ghosts, such as this one waiting up top here in the hallway. It is one of the shrine mains looking down on us from where we have been attacked numerous times by them. But in addition, since we are on New Game Plus, that means I will be doing a little bit more damage than normal, but it's not really game-breaking or anything like that, especially in the case of Kay, who never really gets that powerful to begin with. But we can already see something is causing our camera to react in the stained hallway.
This finishes it.
And due to a problem with the emulator, I did almost miss that vanishing ghost. And it does kind of give away the fact of what we are looking for. But next to the hand in the wall here, there was this little outline of something in the wall here. This is to kind of indicate something is inside the wall.
Rest here as a cornerstone.
But up until this point, we would not have been able to really interact with this wall at all. But now that we know, we can safely move this aside. And inside, we find the final resting place of the faceless man. Yeah, the final shrine carpenter sacrificing himself as a pillar to hopefully draw back the rift, but too little too late in this case. In addition to his dead body, underneath this floor panel here, we can find a few interesting items. Yeah, amongst his carpenter's tools here, we do find a mysterious map. And along with the map, we do find a note that outlines a bit more about these different shrines that were built to hopefully contain the rift. And even though we do get a map with a mark on it, it's not going to be too difficult to miss this Shrine of Sleep. In addition to that, we do find a somewhat useful piece of the camera. This was in Fatal Frame 2, and I think 1 as well. But the switch function allows us to switch between all of our ultra useful power lenses, even though I haven't really been showing them off, and for the most part they are very situational. And with that, we've done all the primary things we need to do in this update. Even though if you look at the length of the video, we still have about 30 minutes left. And that's going to be all wonderful, optional things to do. And they are actually pretty easy to miss optional things. The first one is going to be where we first fought Yoshina Takagawa in the room with the blinds. As far as I know, initially there's nothing to tell you that there's something waiting in there. But if you are a curious type, you might head over there and start to hear something a little strange. Now, that's not Miss Takagawa talking to us. It's definitely not that doll over there in the closet. Maybe it's whatever made this shape in the mat here. Yeah, we investigated this earlier, but this time around there is a book waiting for us. And it is a new notebook, calico colored. And this one goes in a bit more about the end of days, I suppose, regarding the Kuze Shrine. This notebook is actually from the head of the Kuze family. It goes into almost a sorrowful recount of what ended up happening to that poor impaled handmaiden. But if you're wondering who the Kuze family head was, well, we will find out shortly.
It's not enough.
And by shortly, I mean right now. Yeah, this multi-armed spirit that we fought earlier as Miku is the Kuze family head. Much like the rest of the spirits in the Manor of Sleep, she has been driven insane by the rift. But with the sheer amount of area we have to fight her in, she is still not any real difficulty. The only difficulty is in, well, if you've been able to master the ability to circle strafe and fire at the same time. You do have to be careful though, because, well, when she is summoned out, the door is locked, so you are required to fight her if you do go out of your way to get that calico notebook, but outside of the little bit of information, it doesn't give you anything new or special overall. But speaking of special, at least, there is something special waiting for us down in the partition room here. If we go into viewfinder mode, yeah, that closed off room from before, we took a picture, I think back in hour 4. You see Miss Takagawa still guiltily waiting. Now, if you had not taken that picture all the way back in, I think, chapter 4, or hour 4, I might be wrong on that, she would not be appearing in this hour. And she is appearing in that room for a very special reason this time around, but we'll be finding out what that special reason is in just a couple of minutes. All I can say is that the payoff is probably not what you would expect. Especially considering the odd amount of hoops that, well, the average player is going to have to jump through, especially the sheer danger that's waiting for us in this hallway. Say hello to Stroller Grandma.
Give back.
While initially Stroller Grandma may not seem like much, she hits for a lot, and she has a very small window of opportunity. She is actually incredibly dangerous to the first-time player, and if you do happen to get killed by her, and even if you do have a stone mirror, she will despawn, and that means you miss out on that notched arrow key. Now, you may remember all the way back when we first entered the Manor of Sleep, and I think the first hour, near the entrance here, we did find this locked door. And just now, in hour 9, we finally found the key for it. That means we can now safely explore whatever is on the other side of this doorway. Also, if you are wondering, there isn't much story behind Stroller Grandma. She is probably one of the more non-sequitur ghosts that we're going to run across, and I think outside of the description given in the ghost list, she's never really given a backstory in the game. Now, in this small corridor here, we do find a stone mirror in case you've been killed at some point, obviously not by Stroller Grandma. But at the end, we finally find our way back into that partitioned room that we couldn't get into before. Let's see if we can't finally give some solace to poor Yoshina here.
Please help me. Help me.
Well, I guess we can at least give her some respite. Even though we are given an incredibly small arena to fight her and those bending shadows. And yet again, I can't over-embellish the fact that she is the enemy generator here, so no matter how many of these shadows you take out, as long as she is still alive, she will still continue to create them. So you are going to need to focus on her, otherwise you're going to be in for a long fight. But for our efforts, we do get a lovely picture of Yoshina and what we assume to be her boyfriend, who died in the crash. But that is not our only reward. No, we have gone this far for this great piece of the camera obscura, which is measure. Yeah, we have gone well over halfway through the game without knowing any of the ghost life bar. And to get this upgrade, we had to do a number of optional things, a number of optional photos, and take down Stroller Grandma. I don't know, it's honestly a weird design decision to me, that you have to go through this far into the game without knowing any of the enemy health bars. But there you go, we've got all that optionalness out of the way, and now it's time for another massive jump. All the way into the Himuro Mansion area of the manor, as there is a musty photo opportunity waiting back here in this grisly area. Yet again, there's really no indication to the player that there is an option over here to take a picture, but, well, hopefully you do get your curiosity working and explore as much as you can on every night. But that little photo opportunity does open up another vanishing ghost whenever we head back through Himuro Mansion. And it can be a pretty dangerous one to partake in, but a very necessary one if you are trying to finish up the spirit list. And I say dangerous because being in Himuro Mansion, there are specialized random ghost encounters. Such as in this case, as you are in the Himuro Mansion area, you will get attacked by the Rope Shrine Maiden. As far as I've been able to tell, she doesn't show up in any other parts of the manor, and, well, it's a good motivation never to come back to this area. Especially in this very, very tiny rope hallway here, she can be quite a handful if you haven't got her fatal frame opportunities down. But there was a reason I was creeping my way down the hallway here. Yeah, we get a photo opportunity along with... Yeah, I know it may seem odd that we do have another fight, but this one is actually scripted to happen after that vanishing ghost. We honestly just kind of lucked out with that whole random ghost encounter, but at least we get plenty of practice against this ghost, I guess. Still, I can't really overstate just how difficult getting down her fatal frame opportunities are. She's incredibly erratic, she teleports around a lot, and the timing on her fatal frame and shutter chances are very, very small. And I wish I could say that was our final bit in Himuro Mansion for right now, but It's not. We do have one more vanishing ghost to get rid of. And it's back in that sleeping quarters room where I think we fought one of the engraved men. I think a couple chapters back.
It's so dark. Let me out. Please let me out.
Now, we don't have very many places to let someone out.
Let me out.
The only really place is back in this closet.
It's so... Please let me out.
So we now get our first opportunity to fight the woman on all fours, or the woman crawling, in a more open situation. And I wish I could say that made the fight any easier, but she is still one of the fastest ghosts in the Fatal Frame series. And she is very erratic, and what makes it even worse is she is very low to the ground. But the good news is she does have a pretty small health pool, which if you can get her Fatal Frames down, makes her pretty easy otherwise. And we do get a musty picture for our troubles, and come on. I'm sincerely an enemy magnet tonight.
You can never run away.
I guess it does work out that I moved to New Game Plus, because the game is certainly turning up the enemy encounters something fierce. But with that out of the way, we can now safely exit the Himuro Mansion area of the Manor of Sleep. But we do have one more little optional side trek to make before we head back to that door we unlocked so long ago. The good news is that that area we have to head over to is not too far away. It's actually right over here in this doorway we've been in before. And wouldn't you know it, the blinds that have been closed so many times before are now oddly open. Yeah, we can now look around in this sealed off area, though we don't find too much. Another person-shaped bulge in the bedding. But more importantly, back on the desk here, we do find another entry into that calico notebook from before. And it goes into a bit more about what we already know about one of the handmaidens leading a man into the shrine rift. And we do know why all this happened before, so it is kind of going over a lot of what we already know. But the notebook isn't our main motivation for coming in here. Outside of the notebook, we do find another very useful power lens, and it is the Zero lens, which Kay has already gotten, but we'll get a bit more use out of as Ray. As I mentioned before, this just gives you a more powerful shot, though it is a bit expensive at 3 spirit orbs. But as opposed to Kay, Ray can build up that spirit energy a lot faster than Kay can. But yeah, we have now gotten all that optional wonderfulness out of the way. We can now finally see the ghost health bar. Hopefully we'll get some more information about that woman on all fours, and hopefully finished up finally with Miss Takagawa. Still though, this would have been a surprisingly simple chapter otherwise. The game, I was about to say, was being a bit nice to us, but obviously that isn't the case. I think that was one of the bells that fell off.
must not be spread. The unleashing cannot be allowed to continue.
Yeah, we got one last fight against the Faceless Man again. But really, after having fought the Kuze family head and I think at least 2 Rope Shrine Maidens, the woman on all fours, and I think one of the Handmaiden children, really I think we're up to another Faceless Man.
More sacrifices, more blood.
Yeah, now we have no other barriers between us and that door that we've been fighting so hard to get through. So just the further and further we head in, the worse and worse that tattoo gets. I'm not sure if knowing the answers are helping or hurting the situation. Also, who keeps calling us? I don't assume Kay to be so rude as to just keep calling us hour after hour.
Yes, Kurosawa speaking. Miko?
Let me out! Let me out! Let me out!
Just another wrong number.
Hello? This is Amakura.
Well, I would say the good news is that it's not another woman yelling at us. Instead, it's Kay this time, but as someone pointed out in the thread last time around, you can still hear ghostly screams behind these normal conversations. So, I don't know, maybe Ray is really heavily hallucinating. Either way, Kay is going to continue investigating, and he wants us to join up with him. I'm not sure, though, if we are really going to fill up for it.
Well,
And just like that, we are shoved directly into night. And we do have a few pieces of musty film to develop and some new information to get from Miku, so we're going to go ahead and get that out of the way, along with dealing with a few supernatural encounters waiting for us around the house. I do apologize if I have been missing any of these. they are sometimes hard to tell what will trigger them and when. Some of them, though, are really easy not to miss. Also, these little ghostly encounters around the house, for the most part, are not considered part of the spirit list, though there are a few considerations to take in mind. Most of the time, though, when the engraver pops up, those are just for a few extra points. But yeah, the first picture we're going to develop is of the woman on all fours. Hopefully this will give us a little bit more than the urban legend information that Miku was trying to give us. We do have that rope pedestal from before, though now we see there's a creepy arm waiting off to the side. I'm sure Miku is just going to love looking at that picture, and probably wondering how on earth we got a hold of that. Because as far as I know, after Miku left Himuro Mansion, I doubt anyone else stumbled upon the sacrificial altars or anything of that sort up in the mansion. But there is plenty of information waiting for Miku to give us.
Ray? Here.
And the first piece we are going to get is about Mio. It's mostly stuff we already knew before, but in this case, it seems that Mio went missing with, I think, her mother. And once she was found, sans her mother, she went into a coma. And, well, that's where we are right now in the game. And that's why she is showing up in the Manor of Sleep and why Kay is trying his best to wake her up. In addition to that, we do get a little bit more information as well about twin deification. Now, this makes it seem a lot more innocent than what we knew to have happened back in All Gods Village, but this red cord is something else that I have learned a little bit about, in Japanese history and just general folklore. It usually has to do when someone is fated and connected to another person. And you can probably already draw the conclusions as to the connections that a twin might have.
It's raining again. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you need something?
And we will go ahead and give her at least one of the pictures we got. We won't bother her with the pedestal picture.
I see, but Ray, I'm a little nervous.
And it is nice to see that Miku is reacting, I would say, properly to the horrible nightmares and worsening state that everybody in the house seems to be having. It'd be odd if throughout the entire game she was always very chipper. But with the pictures we have taken and the information we have gathered, that means there is new information waiting in Yu's room here. Such as this, what would have been very helpful little notebook on the Manor of Sleep. This goes over pretty much every symptom that we've been having, such as having the same dream over and over again, dreaming about a snowy, haphazardly laid out Japanese manor, feeling a very strong inclination to proceed further into a manor while hearing lullabies and seeing funeral processions, definitely seeing hallucinations while awake and staying asleep for extreme amount of hours. The good news is we haven't vanished in a mark of black soot, as opposed to Miss Takagawa, who we saw firsthand. Finally, though, there is some romanticism attached to this whole manner of sleep idea by the end, and most distressingly of all, it's that last little bit that really gets Ray thinking, well, even if I did pursue the person, would I really want to come back? In addition to that wonderful note to leave on, we do find some more books over here. First one being about some shrine carpenters that went missing. Though the article feels the want to say that they were spirited away, instead we know that they met a much more grisly fate at the hands of their master, who likewise met a pretty horrible fate in the end. And we find a somewhat long entry about the rope priestess. Most of this we already know from Fatal Frame 1, but I guess it is to catch up the player in case they missed out on playing Fatal Frame 1. Goes into the shrine, or the rope pulling to make a special rope to seal off the gates of the underworld. Otherwise, it really tries to look at the whole process from a more symbolic meaning, I guess, even though we know that there's no symbolism behind it. Someone was pulled apart with ropes, and those bloody ropes were used, imbued with their sorrow, to keep mystical gates closed to the gates of the underworld. But on that happy note, I think this is a good place to call it an update. So we're going to go ahead and head back to the bedroom. Hoping this time around there are no ghostly feet or limbs hanging from the ceiling or anything like that. Nope, nothing there. So, see you next time.